start. But this is a PowerPoint that I've made, and the PowerPoint just explains everything to do with the qualification. So it's a proper SQA qualification, the Scottish Qualifications Framework, and it's through an organisation called the Piping and Drumming Qualifications Board. And we'll speak all about that throughout this presentation. So in the presentation we'll talk about what is PDQB, so the Piping and Drumming Qualifications Board, why we should do the exams, how do you learn and study for the exams, when and where the classes and the exams will be held, and what exams you can do and what you need to know. So, as I said there, what is PDQB? PDQB is the Piping and Drumming Qualifications Board, and it was formed in 2006. And the main organisations in pipe band instruction and tuition, which is the Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association, Army Piping and Drumming School, and the National Piping Centre and the Pembroke Society, they all came together to design a new qualification. And it took them a very, very long time. Lots of coming and froing and hearing and going, because each of those organisations had their own qualifications, which ended up very confusing for pipers and drummers. So they decided to brainstorm a syllabus and a way of creating their own qualification through this new organisation. So instead of having 4 or 5 different qualifications, you had one, as it says there. The qualifications were always handy to have, but they weren't relevant outside of their own organisations. So if you were getting taught at the Piping Centre and you had all of the Piping Centre qualifications, they weren't very much use if you were wanting to move to a different organisation to get taught, for example. And the PDQB, as I said, they're designed loads of qualifications that are recognised and accredited by the SQA, which is the big thing. So you might think, well, drumming is just a wee hobby. Of course it is, it's just a wee hobby. But we can do qualifications which give us points, which are recognised by the Scottish Qualifications Authority, SQA. And if you're, and I know it's very early days, but a lot of folk might be, when they're a wee bit older, looking at university or other jobs or further education. All these qualifications give us points which go towards that, and you'll see the points here. So the lowest level is level 2, that's the lowest level, so you still get 12 SQA points. Alright, and then level 3, the highest level in drumming at the moment is level 6. It doesn't go up to level 8. In bagpipes it goes up to level 8, in drumming it goes to level 6. And my aim is to get folk through the very beginner drummers. We'll look at level 2, and if they're a bit more advanced, we'll potentially look at level 3 instead of level 2, and then level 4 for the more advanced, the further advanced younger ones, and then level 5 for our novice, strong novice and strong juvenile drummers. None of us are ready for level 6 yet. Alright, we're not quite there for level 6, but we would start at the bottom and then just work our way up. Why do we look to do it? Well, to gain the knowledge and to become a better piper and drummer. So I've implemented this syllabus already into the drumming qualifications, or the lessons that we do. So all the exercises we do are exercises that would be used for tests for each level. So we don't have to do these qualifications, but I'll still teach the syllabus for it. Alright, so it's one of these ones that it means that you don't have to, if we're going to do this, we don't have to decide we're going to change everything. We just keep doing what we're doing. We just need to incorporate some musical theory into our learning. It gives us something to show for all our effort and practice, because a lot of times drummers, certainly when we're learning, we don't get the opportunity to show as much as we like to. With bagpipes, when you get stronger, you can perform here, there and everywhere. Drumming, not as much. You kind of need the pipes to be able to perform. And it also gives you, like you'll see sometimes, piano players, pianists or violins, all these different instruments, to have grades and levels. So you would say, well, I've sat my level 2, I've sat my level 5, and it'll have a bit more meaning out with the pipers and drummers, because we all know what it means. And additional qualifications like this, as I say, are valuable to any job, college or university application. I used to be in the army. I was in the army for 10 years. A lot of folk don't know that, but when I left the army, I wanted to be a school teacher. I went for a few jobs first, and I always mentioned on my CV about the pipe band and the qualifications I've got, and it always created intrigue. And when you get the chance to speak to employers about pipe bands, they realise, well, this pipe band, it just sounds like bagpipes and drums, but it's strong discipline, leadership, teamwork, all those amazing buzzwords that employers look for. You get them all, believe it or not, from being in the pipe band. So the idea is we'll be doing online lessons, and I've said 4 o'clock, but we might make it later depending on folks' thoughts and timings. Today, 4:30, I made it okay. It was okay for me. We might end up doing it potentially later. I think 4 might be a wee bit early, but I'll ping out an email and see what folk think. But the idea is that that'll be online, like an online theory lesson. And just like this, I'll record that lesson and I'll send it out to everybody so they can have a go at studying it after in case they miss it. And I've also made videos of every theory lesson that we do. And you might think, well, what's theory? Well, musical theory is when we learn basically how to read and write music, understanding how the structure of music is, and drum maintenance. So things like how to tune the drum, how to change drum heads, everything that's involved with drumming and music that isn't playing, like using the sticks and pads. That's our theory. And we would use, as I said there, the Google Meet platform, and the link would be the same throughout the duration. And I've said it will be 6 lessons. We might make it more. It just depends on how we're getting on, because I don't want to rush it and stress folk out and say we have to be done this by then, we have to be done it by this date. I would rather it be relaxed, because this isn't part of the school curriculum. It's out with it. It's completely separate. So if we want to spend a little bit longer, we can. We can spend as long as we need doing it. And there'll be videos of every lesson, as I said there. So like I've physically taught each lesson in person, and they've been recorded. Like we would send those out to everybody along with the screen record of that weekly lesson that week. So there'll be loads of things to get sent out, which will be really, really cool. And the lessons will focus mainly, as I said, on musical theory. And because we're already working on the practical side, so the exercises, the tunes that we're working on, they're all tunes and exercises that can be used for each level for the practical element of these assessments. So we don't need to change anything. We just keep doing what we're doing. And the instructors will be me and Chloe Taylor. She'll get involved in some of the lessons. She's the drumming intern. Some of you will have met her, some of you won't have. And Morven Walker will assist on bass and tenor. So she would be teaching the bass and tenor drummers here the exercises they would need to do for their relevant levels. And we would organise exams. I would try and get them done before February next year. And I think that's quite achievable. And again, if we can't do that, it's not the end of the world. We would just book it for another date further down the line. Or if things are really stressful or hectic, you say, well, let's just keep chipping away at it, but we can do it a few months down the line. There's no stress, but certainly folk who are ready for it, I would be looking at booking the exam on February next year. And they can also be sat online, which is really, really helpful. And this is just a little document I found that shows how people retain information. You'll probably know a lot of this. So a lot of things, it's like 50% of what he or she sees and hears. So if you're listening to me and looking at the PowerPoint presentations, then you'll take in a maximum of 50%. If you're answering questions on top of that, you'll take in 70%. and you'll take in 80% of what any of the teachers do if you're answering the practice questions along with the questions during the lesson, listening to the PowerPoint and practicing your exercises and tunes at home. So if you're doing everything, you'll take in 80% of the information. And if you're only doing 10%, like looking at handouts, then you're really going to struggle. Absolutely struggle. And a big point I would like to stress with these qualifications, if you've got a primary 5 child that's keen to take part, or even a P6, they're going to need a bit of support from the parents. I would say we can't just let the wee drummers go themselves. They'll find it really tricky. And some of them, the practical side, you might not be able to help them with. Some parents are very proactive and they help. They'll sit with the videos that I've sent and really get engaged with them, which is awesome. I absolutely love it. Sometimes they find it hard, but certainly when it comes to the musical theory, we'll definitely need you guys to help out. So how do you learn? Attend all the classes. Try and, if you fail to attend, try catch up using the videos that we send out. Revise the handouts. Right, so and everyone will be given an exercise book. If they've not been given an exercise book yet, I'll print one out for you. So straight after the October break, you'll all have an exercise book. A lot of folk have them already. Some of them have them but have lost them. I'm just going to print out loads of them, and all the handouts are actually in those exercise books. I'll also send out practice questions. So say next time we'll do our first theory lesson that might be on notes and note shapes. I'll send out some questions for you to try and answer, and then you would just answer them. So we would probably use the Google Classroom and set it as a potential homework assignment. Just answer these questions. I'll mark it and let you know if you passed or failed. And as always practice your drum scores and your exercises. That should be a given, to be honest, because I harp on to all the kids after every single lesson. You have to practice these exercises. You need to practice these tunes. So they should be practicing every day, the kids, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them will come back and say, I've not practiced at all, and it breaks my wee heart because I have to reteach them what they were shown last week. So without question, they have to practice. And the revision shouldn't take any more than 30 minutes per week, I would say, because the lessons won't take that long. Alright, the theory ones certainly. I would be hoping to get the lesson started, 30 minutes, maybe 40 at the absolute most, and it would be done. And then we can answer questions at the end and have a wee talk about it. But you shouldn't take any more than that in terms of revision. And practice time required on tunes and exercises, that depends on each individual, because some folk learn faster than the others. And we've all experienced that before, be it in school or the workplace. Somebody just gets something really quick. Somebody takes a little bit longer, but usually the person who takes longer does get it in the end. Alright, and sometimes they can actually perform that task better than the person who learned it fast. Alright, there's no bad or good with being either way. It's just a way of life. Some folk learn things a lot quicker. So has anyone got any questions so far? Or are you happy for me to plough on? I'm quite happy to just keep going and then answer questions at the end. Yeah, I'll plough on then. So, the theory syllabus. Alright, I'm just going to blast through these because the syllabus is different for each level. Alright, but we need to be able to basically write out music, understand pitch and duration in musical notes, understand clefs and bar lines, time signatures, rhythmic patterns in different types of time, and music writing. Okay, so quite a lot to take in, and you're thinking, geez, oh, that's really hard. However, things like clefs, bar lines, time signatures, simple compound time, I rattle them all out in one lesson. And you'd be surprised at how easy some of it is. Okay? And even after one lesson, you might think, geez, oh, that's really confusing. But you end up leaving it You go to sleep, wake up, next day, go to school, have a wee revise, and you're like, well, actually, that makes a bit more sense. Sometimes the information just needs to digest a little bit. And also, after the October break, with us going back to weekly lessons at every school, it means I'll be able to see them in person. So if they're struggling with something, make sure that they ask me. They could say, well, I don't understand what you mean by simple time. And then I explain it in person, and it maybe makes a bit more sense. But it's all surprisingly easy. So all exercises, when it comes to an assessment, they'll be played on a drum pad, and everything that's played on the assessment is in the little books that I've given out to everyone, like the little PDQB books. And again, if you've not got one, I will print it out for you. And there's a video for every single page in every single book. Alright, so if you're at home and you're thinking, well, I want to push on, I'm not just going to sit on the exercise we've done, then you can use all these videos that I've made. So as I said there, every page has got a video. So you could be an absolute wee drumming machine and beast it and say, right, well, I'm going to do this whole book myself. And you could easily do it yourself. And then you could use the lessons with me in person to fix any inevitable little bits that aren't quite right. And as I said, we would work on any exercises online if time allows, but I would rather use the online time to do the musical theory. And each level will have almost like a big part of the assessment will be playing a tune. Alright, so for level 2, for example, I think it's a very basic 3/4 march, which almost everybody in this call can play anyway. Alright, the 3/4 march that we play is actually level 3. It's a more advanced level, so you might find that you want to actually skip level 2 and potentially go to level 3 for reasons like that. If that's the case, so be it. We can take it as it comes. And I won't put anyone in a level they're not capable of. Alright, so we'll have a good think and speak to everyone. I'll put you in a level that I think would be a challenge, but not one that I think you couldn't pass. So you might find that you're put in level 3 or 4, you think, oh geez, I thought I'd be level 3. There'll be a reason I've put you in that level. Okay, so I'm certainly not throwing anyone in to sink. Like, I reckon the level we put you all in, it'll be absolutely achievable. And carrying on with the practical, monotone exercises, it's quite hard to explain what they are without seeing them in person. It's basically counting exercises for the drummers. So the beginner drummers, you'll have played exercises where we count 1, 2, 1 and 2, things like that. It's exercises like that. And tunes, as I said before, there'll be a tune for each level, and the tunes we play should be played on the snare drum, and they don't have to be played along with bagpipes. And again, you might think, geez, I've not got a snare drum. I'll give you as a snare drum for all these things. Alright, I take care of all the things that we need. And all the practical for the drumming, the maintenance, as we say, this isn't specific to each level. This is something that will be covered throughout all of the levels, is naming parts of the drum and explaining why you have it. General care and maintenance, so what you do to look after it. A lot of it's common sense. Changing drum heads, so almost like a pit crew, where we learn how to change the top head that you hit, how to change the bottom head, all these things, very cool to be able to do. The advanced levels, so when you get to level 5 or 6, you would learn how to tune the drum, and then also learn how to tune the bass and tenor drums, including dampening. So that's when we would maybe look at getting Morven in to help us a little bit, because she's probably a little bit better at tuning drums than I am. And I'll plough on and leave questions to the end, as I say. What you'll need to bring along, obviously bring your drumsticks and pads, because we might have time for a wee tune. Booklets and handouts. So you'll all have, again, as I said, most of you will have the booklets. If you don't, then I'll get them all printed out for you. I'll also email them to you, so you have them, so you can put them on potentially iPads or tablets if you are that way inclined and tech savvy. and I'll also email handouts for whatever theory lesson we're doing prior to the lesson starting, so you've got it in if you need it. I would bring a notebook for sure, paper and pen, and a ruler, because we're going to be doing some music writing, so you might want, in fact you're definitely going to want a ruler because you want to draw notes like this as neat as you can. Pencil, pen and a ruler, as I've said there, and headphones if you need for hearing me clearly, because I know with the Pipers, I'm not sure if Lee had a dodgy mic, but they found it quite tricky hearing them sometimes. I've got a really good mic and I've got a really good camera. I've got quite a quality setup in my wee man cave here, so you should be able to hear me clearly. But if you still need to use headphones, there's no drama, you would just use headphones. Alright, and that's the end of it. The cost of the qualification is £45, and you might think, geez, oh man, that's a lot. I don't see any of that. That just goes to, it's a combination of the qualification and the assessor.